Representative Pinto has up before us House File 2319. Does anyone want to move House File 2319?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Representative Hassan moves House File 2319, and her motion is that it be recommended to be referred to Ways and Means. And Representative Pinto, you have no amendments, is that right?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Take to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Glad
If
to
I
be back.
can, before I hand Representative
Yes.
Pinto, just to be clear, we're looking at section 1, 2, 3, 17, 20, and 21. Those are the provisions relating to immunity in the civil fines portion and data practices.
Mr.
Go
Chair,
ahead,
could you repeat those again, please?
There's sections 1, 2, 3, 17, 20, and 21.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Actually, 21 is even criminal penalties. I don't even know, we need to look at that, but it's not going to public safety, so whatever. Go ahead, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that's my understanding that this, just the focus is on those 6 sections. So this is this are proposals from the Department of Human Services relating to program integrity for a number of human services programs. I have the commissioner here who can help us walk through those specific 6 sections for folks. Maybe just in the interest of time, we'll just kind of dive in with that and move to questions and then go from there. So.
Okay, excellent. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record. Begin.
Mr. Chair, members, my name is Chuck Johnson. I serve as Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Human Services. Thanks for the opportunity to present these department provisions around program integrity. We take program integrity seriously at the agency. Fraud, waste, and abuse cost millions of dollars in dollars that could be going for legitimate services to people.
And I'm not sure if the microphone's
Representative Pinto.
is it on?
What?
Was the microphone? I just wasn't sure if the microphone folks hear the commissioner.
Oh, I
Okay.
heard him.
Okay, good. Thanks. Sorry. Okay,
Thank you,
please continue.
Mr. Chair. The provisions here cover different both medical assistance and child care assistance program to some extent. Some of them cover both. So I will go through the sections in order, and then as Representative Pinto said, we can take questions after that. Section 1 on page 1. This relates to sharing of investigative data. This would allows us or clarifies that we are allowed to share the data from our investigations for fraud in both the Child Care Assistance Program and in medical assistance with other law enforcement as well as with county fraud investigators. We do this generally now, but it is a question that's come up because generally speaking, open investigation data is considered not something you can share. Our investigators are not sworn officers of the law. They are state employees. So we want this to be very clear because the sharing of that data is really important to effectively managing investigations and getting prosecutions. The second section 2 deals with liability, and this deals with the Federal False Claims Act. This would bring Minnesota into conformity with the Federal False Claims Act. We are currently out of compliance with that act, and why that matters, particularly from a DHS perspective, is there's incentive payments that we can get on recoveries under the Medical Assistance Program, Medicaid, a 10% incentive for the state that we only get if we're in compliance with the False Claims Act. Currently, the penalties that are in Minnesota statute around false claims are not at the level that they are within the Federal False Claims Act. This would align us to the Federal False Claims Act. Department of Justice, this came about a couple of years ago. The Department of Justice at the federal level gave us an extension through the end of calendar year 18, but as of January 1 of 2019, we're out of compliance. What this means is, for example, a lot of our Medicaid payments are 50% state, 50% federal. When we make a recovery, we give the federal government back their 50 cents. If we are in compliance, we actually get to keep 60 cents and only give them back 40 cents. So it's a benefit to the general fund of the state to have this provision aligned to the federal law. Section 3, which is on page 3, relates to the Child Care Assistance Program. This clarifies or establishes what data we can share publicly on child care assistance payments. This is a question that's come up recently as we've had a number of requests around data, and we have an IPAD decision from 2006 that says we can't share the amount or who we're paying child care assistance payments to. This seems kind of counterintuitive. We're paying this to child care centers. These are businesses, generally speaking. State, including legislators who are making a lot of the requests of us, are very interested in where those dollars are going. This would allow us to share that information within some parameters. We set a $100,000 threshold on this so that we would only share if it were above $100,000, which helps us protect the possible identification of individuals who may be receiving CCAP, which is important under the data privacy laws. It also would apply only to centers and license exempt centers, not to family-based child care. And we'd be able to share data either on any provider who was paid over $100,000 or when that provider has been subject to some kind of a negative action due to financial misconduct or fraud. And again, this is information that we've been asked for a lot and we can't share, and there's been a fair amount of frustration around that. We believe this clarification would help to make it easier for us to be transparent about where CCAP dollars are going. The next section, we skip ahead to section 17, which you find on page 16. This relates to immunity for good faith reporters. Currently, for people that report to us, or reporting fraud or potential fraud to us on some of our providers, we'll often ask, can I be anonymous? And we can't hold them anonymous. Once the investigation is done, that information does become public. We have actually had a reporter who faced civil lawsuits, even though they went through a good faith reporting, actually got sued civilly for having made that report. We do have similar anonymity in law for reports on vulnerable adult abuse as well as on child abuse. We think this would help in terms of bringing people in and getting better information from the public and allow us to better identify and move forward where we have fraudulent providers that we need to take action on. The next section is section 20. This is on page 18. This relates to the medical assistance Medicaid program. Currently, for investigating and entering into investigation or taking action against a provider within the medical assistance program, we have to give the provider 24 hours notice before we show up in their office. And by giving them 24-hour notice, as you might guess, this creates potential problems in what data is available when we get there, what that data looks like. That's not a restriction we have within our CCAP investigations, for example. We believe that it really prohibits us from being able to do good investigations when we identify a problem, be able to go in and on demand have that provider have to allow us into their office and share whatever documents or records we need to execute our investigation. And we think this clarification would be important going forward. And then finally, Mr. Chair and members, section 21 on page 19 of the bill addresses kickbacks. This establishes in law a law that says that kickbacks are criminalized within Minnesota law for the purposes of public programs, and this is again a reference to child care assistance and the Medicaid program. This is modeled after the federal kickback law, anti-kickback statute. It applies to both providers and recipients, so no matter which way the kickback is going, it would apply. It really helps prosecutors have an easier time of proving that there was theft and establishing the amount that has been stolen as part of these schemes. We see kickback schemes fairly frequently, both within child care assistance and parts of our Medicaid program. We think it's important to have this clearly in state statute. It can lead to overutilization of services, to billing for services that are not rendered, for billing services that aren't medically necessary. People choosing a provider based on a kickback as opposed to basing on a quality of service or the actual services that they need. And is, of course, an unfair competitive practice within these areas. So we believe that criminalizing the provider and recipient kickback will help fill this gap in Minnesota law and help us tighten up our ability to be able to prosecute those schemes when we see them. Mr. Chair, that's my overview.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Chair Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm really glad to see that something is starting to be done on this, particularly CCAP fraud, and I think it goes broader than that. In your estimation you're an assistant commissioner, is that right, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Chair and Representative Scott, Deputy Commissioner.
Deputy Commissioner, thank you. I'm just wondering overall what you think this will do to address the CCAP fraud issue.
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Chair and Representative Scott, I think that these provisions will help a lot, and there's, obviously another 16 sections in the bill that will be heard in other committees, which are also part of our efforts around program integrity that will help address a number of those issues. Those in concert with a number of the provisions that are in another Representative Pinto's bill that the department and the governor proposed around tightening up some of the controls within the child care assistance program. In addition to some supplemental proposals the governor is going to release on Friday, that will help us in terms of better oversight by giving us some more licensing staff to do heightened monitoring around centers where we have suspicions, and also just new centers, because new centers often struggle both from a technical assistance standpoint and potentially from a compliance and cooperation standpoint. Providing us with more data analysts, because we need to do better analytics on our data to be able to get ahead of the fraud, identify where we think the most common schemes are the most, the programs we need to be looking at most closely, again, both on child care assistance and in medical assistance, where the schemes are often similar for something like personal care attendants or home health, very similar kinds of fraud that we see going on. So those provisions will help us a lot, I think, to make progress there. There are a couple of other things that were recommended by the contractor we had doing an overview of our CCAP program for us that are a little bit longer term that I think will be big steps too, and the governor's budget, supplemental budget will help us support work on that. One is a electronic attendance system. Which will allow us to be able to, probably for larger programs, we need to figure out for who, have a good electronic way of having oversight and controls around attendance, which then feeds into billing. That whole nexus of attendance tracking and how it gets billed is one of the really critical points in providing clarity within and integrity within the child care program. We're actually doing something very similar on the Medicaid side with electronic visit verification for personal care attendants and home health. That's in process now. So I think those are some important tools that we can bring forward over the next, well, some are going this year, some we can bring forward over the next year or two to help.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Scott.
And I did have one question regarding investigative welfare data. And it says, I believe, that you can have access to that investigative data even in the midst of an investigation. If maybe I'm not reading that correctly. But then also, how would that overlap if law enforcement is doing investigation? At what point is there an intersection of the department doing an investigation, and at what point do you hand it over to law enforcement or whatever? If you could walk us through that a little bit, please. Thank you.
Johnson?
Mr. Chair and Representative Scott, sometimes we find that there may be investigations that we're doing and law enforcement might be doing one, or the county may be doing a recipient fraud investigation, which actually ties to a provider fraud investigation that we're doing because of kickback or some kind of a mechanism like that. So it does help with sharing in those instances. We're working on having a better controlled point as to when and how we make decisions about handing a case off to law enforcement, particularly within the CCAP area, where I think we have some room for improvement there based on some of the audits that we've received around that. So we want to have a case that is ready for law enforcement to be able to help us identify what more we need to do, but at the same time be ready enough for them to be able to run with, so we don't waste 2 years of work and then find out that the prosecutor doesn't really feel like there's enough there for us to work with. So that relationship is really key, and having an open communication, but also doing it at the appropriate time and not not bringing law enforcement in before we really need them.
Thank you.
Scott, you good? Okay, thank you. Chair Johnson?
All right. Chair Lash, Representative Pinto, and to the testifier. I don't believe we dealt with Section 2, and we're not supposed to, but it caught my attention during the overview. In 2015 is when the federal act went into place. And now you just bring it up in 2019 to get in compliance, and you had to do an extension that expired a year ago. I'm just wondering why this wasn't taken care of in the department bills that we get yearly. This is something that should have been taken care of right away, and I'm just a little disappointed that now that we're out of compliance, we have to do it real quick, rushingly. So that's a little bit of disappointment I have, along with reading some of the OLA report, very concerning. One thing with the investigation part of it that you talked about in this, what that was in the OLA report is taking the Office of Inspector General and putting that outside of Health and Human Services as an independent type deal. I noticed that's not in this bill. And for us, it's a little hard to comprehend everything. We were trying to read the OLA report, but on the House side, we have not even had a hearing yet dealing with these issues for an overview of the OLA report. So it's trying to grasp everything that's going on here is getting a little difficult.
Members, we're at our committee time now, and we have two more members on the list, Representative Lucero and Chair Liebling. Representative Lucero.
With that introduction, I would make it quicker then. I guess I'm reading page 1. I was hoping that Mr. Hopkins might be able to identify welfare system as I'm reading lines 1.21 to 1.23. It makes a reference to the welfare system, so I just wanted to get clarification. Does this, I know we're talking CCAP, but does it involve more? So CCAP would just be part of what the welfare system is? Just clarification on that, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hopkins.
Mr. Chair and members, so welfare system is a defined term in this section of the Data Practices Act. It's very long and expansive. It includes the Department of Human Services, local social service agencies, county welfare agencies, county public health agencies, county veteran service agencies. So I won't read the whole thing, but Native American tribes, to the extent a tribe provides a service component of the welfare system, and agencies, persons, institutions, and organizations or other entities under contract to any of the above agencies to the extent specified in the contract. So it's a variety of county, state, and private entities that provide some sort of social service component. So it's a defined term, and the definition is very broad.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a real quick question about PAF, because I was just going through section 21, the 2 pages about 609.
They're talking right
PAF.
now.
What
You're
is
talking
the
about-
intended path? Going to public safety?
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Representative O'Neill. I just meant that I think you were asking whether it's going to public safety?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think our public safety chair is up there talking about that right now. So
Okay.
it's going back to Ways and Means, and their division of Ways and Means now also, so whether it goes to public safety after that, it's going to be up to Ways and Means, and you can tell Chair Mariani on the record here that you think it should go to Ways and Means, or you can say no, or
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would ask that this would go to Ways and Means. I'm actually working on a different type of bill dealing with the theft statutes, and these are adding quite a few new penalties and law felonies with 5 years of 5 years and $15,000 fines. And I just think that's something that we need to discuss to see if that's in line with the current theft statutes, and there isn't an amount that has been proven to be fraudulently taken. And so that, I just have a lot of concerns about that are not in this committee.
fair enough. Chair Mariani, did you want to speak to that at all, or whether it's going to go to your committee?
Well, Mr. Chair, it seems to me at the very least, based on how we've been operating this year, where we recognize that there are those areas in between, and it's going to involve setting a penalty of some type, that that what we said is that we want to avoid duplicative hearings. And it seems to me, therefore, then that what this committee ought to be doing, because there is a penalty identified here, and it's a new one, at the very least, is asking the question, is this an appropriate penalty? What's the intent of the authors relative to its effect on deterrence, et cetera. We'll be asking the same question if it's in our committee. And I think the way we've operated is, as opposed to sending a whole bunch of bills repeatedly to each other, that when it comes to this particular area, the chairs will agree to have their committees, their individual committee, be able to ask those questions.
Well, Chair Mariani.
So I'm perfectly fine with the question being asked here. The issue, I guess, is if the committee doesn't want to spend the time doing that, then I think we, to Representative O'Neill's point, we probably would be obligated to ask those questions.
Well, and Chair Mariani, I'm in agreement with you on that. I think that there's a 50% overlap between our committees in the first place, and a lot of members serve on the same ones, and I think the questions can be validly asked in either committee, but, I give deference to members to a certain extent, too, if they do bring it up, and Representative O'Neill, it's your prerogative. I mean, you want to ask a question here, or you really want to think it's, I don't know. I think we should be able to ask the questions here or anywhere, but go ahead, speak to that if you'd like to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had because we're adding a new penalty to law, and I know it doesn't have parity with the theft statutes because there's not a number, an amount that was stolen that equivocates to the crime. So I just wanted to know from the author what was the thought process behind that, and how will you determine what, it's just one penalty. So if you do any of these things, you now have committed a felony with 5 years in prison and $15,000 fine. And the theft statutes is graduated by how much you've stolen, whether it was $500 for either a misdemeanor, I believe it's a misdemeanor, and above 5,000, or excuse me, 500, for a misdemeanor, and then, it's graduated up depending on how much you've stolen, and the highest is over 5,000, which is the highest penalty. And this is very, very different than that. And they did reference that this is similar to the theft statutes, and I'm saying it really isn't. And so I think we should have that conversation.
Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I should note, so what this is this relates to having kickbacks or bribes. So it's sort of the next level up in a way that it's not saying the theft of the funds themselves or the equivalent of that, right? It's saying that if there's a kickback or bribe, and the thought is that if there is a kickback or bribe, there should not be a kickback or bribe. And if you receive a kickback, you receive a bribe, and then boom, the penalty applies. And so I think that's the thinking for why it'd be different than the graduated penalty, which certainly with a theft, we want to distinguish shoplifting, something small, and then something else. Whereas with this, if you've got this human services program, there's a kickback or bribe in place at all, then that's where it kicks in. And obviously it's a policy judgment, and I could certainly, one could imagine that it might make sense for it to be graduated, but I think that that's the policy rationale for why at least as it's being presented, it's not graduated. It's kind of a different setup.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I would suggest that maybe it should be graduated because you basically are, so example, I'm working on something for retail crime, organized retail crime. So you've got somebody that goes in and they have a shopping list and they go in and they steal everything from Home Depot or whatever and they walk out the front door. And they do that day after day after day. Well, that's a very different crime than the little kid that walks in and steals a candy bar. So what I'm getting to is maybe this was a one-time occurrence, or maybe this was really, really organized and it was, $1 million, $2 million, whatever it was, $100 million. So there is no, it's just one penalty. It's just a felony and it's 5 years and it's $15,000 for the smallest interaction to the most egregious. And so I'm just saying it should be weighted in some way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I actually think, Representative O'Neill, I think that's a terrific point, because you certainly could imagine a small kickback or something small. We're very concerned about it, but still could be very different, something big. And I'll actually note, you didn't, but actually one other point that's in theft is is as an aggregation clause, right? Because you say you get the bribe on this day versus next week, and then they should be potentially aggregated if you have an amount. So if you're going to go to the amount, maybe that gets added too. So I think that's a great point and something to consider adding as it moves forward. So thank you so much for bringing it up. That's really good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would.
Yeah.
May I continue?
Go ahead, Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would really recommend that because you're talking about scale, right? And definitely do the aggregate because that's where you get to the scale. And I think that there's a lot of difference. You've got someone, that less than $1,000. I don't know, just pick a number, whatever. A small amount versus this is organized and this is concerted effort. So I just think it should be scaled, just like our theft statutes are scaled. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We may need to hire Representative O'Neill at our county attorney's office because she's clearly, she's thinking like a prosecutor in many occasions. So thank you.
Chair Liebler?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank you, Representative O'Neill. I also have some concerns about this, and I'll talk with the author offline, but I did just want to thank Representative Pinto for working on this, and Mr. Johnson. I mean, you know, fraud is not a new thing. Anytime you have big public programs, you're going to have fraud, and we constantly have to try to keep up and tighten up our laws and figure out how to root it out and find it, and that's something that we all have interest in. And so I appreciate this, Representative Pinto. I know you're going to continue to work on. I know this is going to come to my committee as well. So thank you very much for bringing this.
Last comment, Chair Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if one comment that I didn't make but wanted to, and if we're going to kind of broaden the scope of the conversation, on 12.7 through 12.11, it's talking about suspending a vendor's participation in the program if they've been convicted of a crime, et cetera, and my recommendation there is if you're convicted of a crime in this area, I'm sorry, but you never get to do this again. You don't get a license back. You don't get to participate in this program anymore. So those are just my thoughts, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'd offer closing comments, Representative Pinto, but we're already 13 minutes past our closing time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and members.
The motion was made by Representative Hassan, made the motion that House File 2319 be recommended to be re-referred to the Ways and Means Committee. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion passes. You're on your way. Thank you, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members.